be a star. Back with X number 2. Are you sure you want to hear this? Am I sure I want to tell this? So I would have met this particular guy, Mr. Toxic, in that camp that I had a conversation with a young lady, and also I was supposed to go to with X number 1. Mind you, at camp, I did not speak to this guy because, as I said in the previous video, I had like a summer stint with one of the other campers. But after camp ended and after I had my like 2-week fling or whatever with the camper, I, back in the days, I don't know if anybody remembers MSN, but they had the MSN chat. And I remember I was home after camp and I used to go to the internet cafe because I wanted to keep in touch with other people who I met at the camp. I met a lot of people who are still my girls, still my friends to this day. They're my sisters now. So I met them at that camp. But that was the camp where everybody wanted to talk, but we didn't really, most of us didn't really have like cell phones. So we'd use our computers. So I used to go to the internet cafe in town to communicate with them. And I remember one day this message pops up and I'm like, who is this? Like, I don't know who it is. And he told me who he is. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. We started talking about camp and different stuff. And then he started to just share his life and stuff. And then somewhere along the life, along the conversation, he told me that he was going to be starting Bible school soon. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Because I hadn't met like any young person who's been to Bible school. Yes, I know people probably back in the days were young when they went, but I didn't personally know one. So he was the first one who I knew, as far as I can remember. And I thought it was cool. I was like, wow, that's really honorable that, you want to pursue ministry, like you want to be a pastor. So he said, yeah, he's going to be starting school that very September. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Nice, nice, nice. So we started talking more and I was just like really intrigued because I was like, wow, he's so knowledgeable about the Bible. And I was fascinated by that. So I started to gravitate towards him because of that fascination. And I remember um, there was a certain incident with someone else from my country. I wasn't dating them or anything, but I was talking to them. And I remember when the incident happened, I actually called my ex. He wasn't my ex. I mean, we weren't together at the time, but we were like friends, I guess. And I called him and I explained the situation to him. I was like, there's a situation with that guy, da, da, da. And he was like, basically like, why are you telling me this? I was like, well, I thought we were friends. He was like, well, I like you and I don't want to hear about any other guy. I was like, oh, okay. All right then. It was really awkward for me because I was still like nursing a broken heart. So I didn't know that, you know, I wasn't considering another relationship. However, the more we started to talk, I was like, okay, fine. Let me forget about my ex because he's not studying me and this is a new guy. He's gonna be a pastor or he knows a lot about the Bible and I can learn from him. So we just start talking and stuff. I mean, everything was going smoothly until he dropped the bombshell. He told me that he has a child. And at my age, I was like, I don't want to be anybody's stepmom. So I kind of like pulled back. The situation with him and his child wasn't really like ideal. So I'm not going to get into that. But it wasn't like an ideal situation. But I was really not upset, but I was really hurt that he didn't tell me that sooner because I was like, well, if we're going to pursue something, I think that is information that you should have told me like upfront. But I could understand with parents who have children and they're like dating and stuff that there's certain information that they withhold to protect their child and whatever have you. But whatever have you. I remember I contacted one of my guy friends and I was like, what do you think about this situation? Like, is it weird that I didn't really tell him that's I was talking to someone? I was like, is it weird if a guy has a kid or whatever and he doesn't tell you like up front? And we had a conversation and basically I just um, I let aside, as I said, because I I wasn't a parent at that time, so I didn't want to project my thoughts or beliefs because every parent is different, and I know, as I said, it's very it's a little harder to date with children because you have to protect your child. So I was like, fine, but throughout our relationship. He didn't really talk too much about his child. As I said, it was not the ideal situation. Um, so anyway, eventually we solidified our relationship. We became official. We became Facebook official. And back in those days, when you're Facebook official, that means you're official because you're letting everyone know that that's your person. So anyone else who claim that person, there's some questions and answer sessions that need to happen. So we made it Facebook official. And I remember everybody like from camp and stuff was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And yada, yada, yada. This is nice. And I was like, okay, I felt good because that was like my first time that I could have actually put up my boyfriend on Facebook because my first ex, he didn't have social media at that time. So I just feel like probably in a relationship, but then I'm like, I'm in a relationship with this person. So everybody knew that. And as I said, everything was okay. Everything was going good. Um, and then just his truth started to come out. He told me certain things about himself, certain things about his past, um, abuse, and certain situations that he went through. And I was like, not sure if I want to go through any situation with a guy who has all these issues. He had a lust problem. He had a porn addiction. Those are two red flags already. Okay. And I was like, I can't, because my first ex had the same problem, but I didn't know that at the time. And I was like, am I really going to go through this again? I'm young. I wasn't even 25 yet. I was like, I'm young. Do I really want to put myself in a position with a guy who has this problem? Because one thing about change, a person only change if they want to. You can't force anyone to change. And people don't change for you, they change for themselves. So I remember back in those days, I was like, Miss Fix It. Send me a man problem. And I was determined to fix it. So if he had this issue and that, I thought I could have fixed it. Remember, I said stupid and naive, right? Anyway, so that was my goal. I was going to fix him and turn him into the perfect boyfriend. I know there's no one perfect boyfriend for me. So he'll be ready to be married to me. Okay. That was my goal. I didn't tell anyone, but that was my goal. That was my goal. And time passed, yada, yada, yada. And more things started to come out. And it was like every conversation just got worse and worse. I'm like, how much more of this can I take? So he shared with me about his family history and stuff. I was like, family history is very important when choosing a spouse. Do you got anything else to tell me? Like, you know, fine. Then about a year, no, not a year, a few months after we got together, I got a call. I was in college. I remember exactly where I was. I got a call from one of my sisters. She was like, Dear Star, I am so sorry to hear about you and so and so. I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, yeah, I found out that you guys broke up. I'm like, what do you mean you found that out? I haven't even heard anything. As far as I know, that's still my boyfriend. She was like, oh, well, never mind. I think you should have a conversation with him. So I call him. This was another long distance. He was not in my country either. He's from a different island. And I called him and I was like, so I'm hearing this news that supposedly we are not together anymore. And he was like, yeah, so I was gonna tell you, and but basically you're not God's will for my life. I was like, what? And I remember I was just coming home from school. It was like one of those late night classes. I was on the bus on the phone, and this man was breaking up with me. So you can imagine my emotional state after I was going home. I cried. I cried. All on the bus. On the bus, I was crying out. You know, you cry on the bus and you pretend it's not, so you wiping your face quickly, quickly, quickly. But you crying, and when the bus stopped, and I was just walking the street, I was just my eyes, I was bawling. I was bawling. Not no sound. I was just tears streamed down. And then I think I went home and I contacted him. I was like, what's happening? Like, let me know. And he was like, oh, you know, I'm not good for you. I have so much problems and whatever have you. So it's just best that we don't be together. I was like, no, you don't have that right. Like, we're supposed to discuss that. I know you have issues, but I chose to stay with you because we're going to work through this. You know, and he was like, oh no, whatever have you. He wasn't having it. And he was like, no, we're done. I was devastated. Spent my final semester of my first degree, and I was single. That was like the first time I was single since I turned an adult. So that was new. I mainly have long-term relationships. I don't have short relationships. So since I was 18, I've been in relationships long-term. And I remember I posted, we were still friends on Facebook or wherever have you. But we didn't really talk or anything. I remember I posted a picture on Facebook for my graduation, and he made a comment or he messaged me or something. I can't remember what happened, but I know that he reached out to me. And, you know, I was like, okay, this seems a little promising because I still had feelings for him. It wasn't like my feelings disappeared, but it was just like, I'm not going to go and ask him out or whatever. But somewhere in my heart, I made up in my mind that I am not going to put myself back in that position. As much as I liked him, I didn't want to go down that road again. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is the out that I need because this man is toxic. Okay. But when you choose not to listen to your instincts, when you choose not to be led by the Holy Spirit, at the time I didn't understand about being led by the Holy Spirit or hearing from him. But I made up my mind. I don't want this man, right? Anyway, we went to another camp. You would notice how camp plays a big role in my life from the time I was adult, like early adulthood to now. Like I've been in a lot of camp and it's life-changing experiences. So we went to another camp and I would have saw him. I didn't, it was like whatever, because I was like, we're not doing this again. I remember the whole time at camp, for like the first few days, he was trying to talk to me and I refused to talk to him. I refused. I was like, nope, not going there. Because the things that he told me, it was things you don't even want to share with anybody ever. And still to this day, I have not shared. But I remember we went somewhere and one of my friends or one of my sisters, she was like, oh, you need to give him another chance. And she was the same sister who told me the first time about the breakup. So, you know, because we're all friends or whatever. So she's like, oh, you know, give him another chance or whatever. I was like, no, I don't want to, whatever have you. Okay. Lo and behold, the girl is having a conversation with this man. So he was like, oh, I wrote a letter. I bought it. I've been trying to find the words to apologize, for da da da, for acting like this and whatever have you. And I was like, okay, that's nice. Still not giving him the time of day. But eventually, by the end of camp is always 2 weeks. By the end of camp, we were talking again. We were not in a relationship, but we were talking. And we continued to talk for a few months. We weren't in anything exclusive, but the feelings that I thought were going came back to another level. But this time, we just we hashed it out or whatever have you. This time, I was like, nope, I'm determined. This has to work. I'm not going to be talking to you if this is not going anywhere. So I remember I went to his country, another New Year's. It was a New Year's thing. There's something about crossing over into the new year. I don't know what it is. And I went to surprise him. So, but the difference is this time I was going into Bible school. So I was preparing to leave New York to go back to my country to start Bible school. And we were conversing. He was really excited for me. He's like, I can help you out. I can give pointers because I think he was on his final year of Bible school. So I went to his country, surprised him. Or I was the one surprised because I didn't get to see him because they said he went home or whatever. I was like, oh man. So I was like, wow, I came all the way to his country and I'm not going to get to see him. But we were determined. And I remember another one of my sisters, she was like, girl, you need to not let this man waste your time this time around. Make sure you guys are both on the same page. Tell him that you don't want to be a girlfriend, you want to be a wife. And I was like, oh, what you talking about? And she's like, yes, tell him you want to be a wife because you have to see how serious he is. And I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. So it was the day before I was getting ready to go back to my country to start Bible school. And I told him, I was like, let me tell you, I think it was, yeah. I was like, I don't want to just be in this relationship. You need to let me know if I'm going to my country, am I going as a single woman or am I going in something that's gonna be leading towards marriage? Because I could go to, Bible school is not the place to find a spouse. So that's not what I'm going for. But I was like, if somebody else approaches me, I'm gonna talk to them. So you need to let me know today. So he comes, shock of all shock. He brings me a ring set. It was like the engagement ring and the wedding band. And I was like, what is this? He was like, this is not your engagement ring, but this is a ring to show you how serious I am, that I am 100% ready with you to be married. And I was like, okay then. Okay, and he gave me a Bible. He wrote in it, and I had that Bible until I graduated from school. Then I went to my country, and that was it. I had, the left hand. When you got the ring on your left hand, how you behave? That was me in Bible school. Nobody could have talked to me. I didn't want to look in any guy's direction because as far as I was concerned, I was spoken for. So we would have spoken about marriage. Sometime later that year, I did try on wedding dresses. I still have those pictures. I tried on wedding dresses. So we were planning. He allegedly called wedding venues in his country. I call wedding venues in my country. We're planning. We're talking about the budget. We're talking about what dress I'm gonna wear, what colors, where we're gonna live after, and all that. We planned it. We had the date set and the year. So it would have been around the time I was graduating from Bible school. Then it happened. I had a dream. Now, Mind you, I've always been a dreamer since I was younger, but I never, as far as I knew, I never had a dream about relationships when it comes to me and like warning dreams. So in this particular dream, there was a young lady who we both knew from camp. She was from his country. And I dreamt that they had a relationship where he cheated on me with her. And he was like, oh, no, 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 it's nothing like that. We're just friends and whatever have you. I was like, okay, I believe you. The irony is the very woman from that dream is the one who he did end up marrying years later. So I was like, whew, that was like a mind blowing experience for me when I found that out, but I'll get there. So he was like, no. Then I had another dream that he had sex with a prostitute. So when I told him, he was like, oh, no, 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 I didn't have no sex with a prostitute or whatever have you. But he was like, I did cheat on you. So I was like, what do you mean? And that was my first semester in Bible school. And those who lived on dorm with me, they would have probably thought I was just locked up in the room just to be locked up in the room, even though I like to be by myself. But I was so hurt when he told me that. And the person we said that he cheated on me with, and the reasoning he gave, I was like, are you kidding me? And I remember I was so mad. I was like, well, I'm going to just go downstairs and go down the road and just find a man and just have sex with him. Really, really stupid. That's why I was so mad. And he was like, no, don't do that because you're better than me. And I was like, don't tell me nothing and whatever, whatever. And after that, every person who I saw, because I knew the girl who cheated on me with, because I believe she was my friend on Facebook. And every girl who looked like her in my country, I would just feel mad all over again. I would just project my anger towards them. I didn't talk to them or anything, and they were nowhere near me. But anytime I see any girl who passed by that looked like that particular young lady, I'll just be mad all over again. And this went on for months, for months, for months, for months. Thank God, however, it did not affect my GPA. It did not affect my schooling. Emotionally, I was messed up. I was a hot mess. But academically, I was on top of my game. For some reason, I compartmentalized. I knew how to do that, and I did it with no questions asked. I once I forgave him, but we continued to talk. We continued to plan this wedding or whatever have you. And then, yep, you guessed it. I had another dream. He cheated again. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. You know my past, and I have this problem and I really need help. I was like, so what are you doing to get the help? Like, what are you doing? And he was like, well, there's some counselor I wanted to see, but I wasn't sure. I was like, no, you need to go and see this counselor. We need to fix this problem before we get married. Don't ask me why. I was still determined. Those of you who would have probably been in similar situations where you did some questionable things in the name of love lust, you understand me. It's not a moment to like judge, because a lot of us have done this. So I was like, no, you need to fix this because we're getting married and I don't want to be dealing with this. So he told me this is the person, this is the day he's gonna go and do, get the counseling. When the day passed, I was like, did you go? He was like, oh no, some excuse he gave. And I was like, all right, we're gonna keep trying until you do it. And I think he went maybe to one, and I was like, whatever. Not whatever, like I don't care, but whatever, as in I'm still gonna go through it. We're gonna push through. So we continue to plan the wedding, different things. Then, you guessed it, I had another dream, cheated again. And I was like, at this point, I was like, so do I have to dream that you're cheating on me, or are you ever going to tell me it out of your own mouth? Or do you only confess when I say I had a dream? And he was like, oh, I don't know how to tell you because I don't want to break your heart thing. I was like, my dreams are telling me this. So I was like, you would know when we get married that if you ever even think about doing something stupid like that, I'm going to find out. So you better be careful. I gave him some kind of like fake threat. So he's like, yes, I understand. Then he did the unthinkable. He was at work. I kid you not. This man was at work. He said, I am tired of breaking your heart. I'm going to end my life. I was like, what are you talking about right now? He's like, yes, I'm going to commit suicide. And you know, this man actually went to the kitchen and got a knife and held it to his heart. I was looking at him in the camera like, you're really playing the victim right now. I was like, if you don't put that knife down, and I don't take suicide as not a joke to me. So when he did that, I was both concerned and angry because I was like, suicide is something that's serious. That is nothing to joke about. And I know he was not joking, but I was also mad that he's using that moment to make this about himself when he was the one who hurt me. He was the one who cheated and he was the one playing victim. I'm like, we all had a past. We all have situations that we would want to, deal with life in a certain way, but you don't get to do that when you hurt somebody. Are you kidding me? And I was like, you cheated on me. You want to kill yourself, but you want to kill yourself in front of me? I was like, how much do you care about me? I was like, you can't care about me if you think that I would actually sit here and watch you kill yourself. That you would think that if you kill yourself, I would not be hurting. You're nowhere near me and you will do something like this. I was like, this is the height of selfishness. I was so mad at that time. I was like, put that knife down. He put the knife down. He started to cry because one thing about him, the first one was a pathological liar, but this one, he was toxic and he was dramatic. Everything for him was dramatic. He always crying and thing. You know, those people who apologize and cry to make up and then they go back to do the same thing. That was him. So he was crying, oh, I need help, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Anyways, so eventually we dealt with that situation. And then we had a plan for my birthday that he was going to come and come to my country to celebrate my birthday with some of my classmates and my sister. So he came, great weekend. We had a good time in my mind. I remember I was making some comments about, at that time I had my children's name. I was like, this is going to be our children's name and stuff. So he was like, I don't get a say in this. And I was like, well, I'm not sure you're going to be my child's father. So I don't know why you need. And he was like, how could you say that? I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so, so sorry. I probably knew something then that. And then about 2 days after, we went down a little by a lookout near the beach by my house. And he was just talking about the future. And he was like, yeah, if this happened, then if I. So I was like, what do you mean if and I? I was like, you mean if and we? And he was like, well, I'm not sure if we're going to be together in the future. And I was like, what exactly are you talking about right now? Because right now, you are in my country. We are planning a wedding. I'm wearing the ring you gave me. You are the one who asked me to marry you. And now you're telling me that you're not sure if you're going to be together in the future. I was so mad. I was like, you're joking, right? Anyways, we squashed that, went back to our separate countries. I thought everything was going good. 3 days out, I kid you not, 3 days after Valentine's Day, I was at another camp. This wasn't, it wasn't one of the camps I usually go to. It was another camp where I was part of the kitchen staff. So I had a lot of, not a lot of time to myself, but I was a little, for the few downtime I had, I was just communicating with him, and the communication was very limited because of where we were. And he was like, I remember it was the Valentine's Day was 3 days before. I was like, the whole Valentine's Day passed, and you didn't even say once that you love me or anything Valentine's related. Even though we didn't really celebrate Valentine's all the time we were together, but I was like, at least, you know, humor me. So he, I think it was probably later at night, probably after 11 p.m. He was like, "Oh, I love you," or whatever. I was like, "Wow, this is my Valentine's, really? Wow." And 3 days after Valentine, he said those words again. I'm not God's will for your life, and this relationship is over. I don't want to go back and forth with you. You know I'm not good for you, and whatever have you. And that was it for me. I went on a downward spiral. This spiral led me to hating, not disliking, hating men. The only man that I could have tolerated at that time was my father. That's how much I hated men. I don't care who the man was. As far as I'm concerned, men hurt you. Men are liars. And I literally generalized every single man in that category. I was like, I hate men. And I'm so serious. I hated men. And it was just crazy because that summer I went to another camp. He didn't come, but his pastor came, and his pastor, he knew bits and pieces about the story. And another one of the directors, they both sat with me at different times, and they basically told me about myself. It's like, I understand that you would have had experience and stuff, but really you need to ask God to help you heal and move on from this, because this hatred, and um I guess they would have probably felt it, maybe how I was interacting to the other guys. I wasn't being mean or anything, but maybe um, I can't remember the reason, but maybe I was harsh or whatever. But I knew I hated them, and I didn't want anything to I didn't want anything to do with them. And they told me about myself, and I remember I was not pleased, because I was like, how does he get a pass? How is he getting away with this? Because he's not the only guy in our organization who does this, who hurt girls, who hurt women, and whatever have you. So eventually, um, during that camp, I saw someone. I was like, oh, he's cool or whatever. But then I found out he had a girlfriend. So I was like, nope, I'm not going down that road. We're not doing that. I don't I don't play those games. So it was my final year of Bible school. Let me tell you what else happened. But let's continue with X number two. Um, Time passed, went to another camp. Don't get tired of me saying camp. It's just part, as I said, it's part of my adulthood life. And he was there, and I had nothing against him, but there were still some pieces of anger left. Just seeing him, I was angry. I'm like, don't come in my face. I literally dodged him the entire camp. Don't talk to me. We're not friends, whatever have you. And I remember he came it was the lamest thing. He was like, this star, I have a question. I was like, what? He was like, we have I don't know if she's his friend, but we both know someone from his country who wrote a book. And he was like, I have some books. I have some copies of her books. I wanted to know if you wanted to buy one. And I was like, what? I was like, if I want to buy one, I'm not going to buy it through you. Like, what are you talking about? And I remember the whole camp, he was into pictures or whatever. So he wanted to take a picture of those who are in the camp and stuff. And I was so mad. So my friends was like, oh, just smile at that picture. My face looked like beast mode number one. I was like, I refuse. if he's gonna have any snapshot of me for me to be smiling, because he had some pictures of me in the past. I really hope he burned it or something by now. But he had some pictures, then obviously that's when we're together. But I was like, right now, I don't want no pictures of me smiling for his memory wall or whatever he's doing with the pictures. So in every picture he took of me, as far as I know, my face was twisted all kind of way because I was like, he's not gonna see me smile. And he was like, oh, why you have to behave like that? I just want a picture. I was like, dude, we're not friends. You don't need any pictures of me. You don't need to remember that I was in this camp, right? Um, a few months before that, though, um, my friend at the time, she's now beyond friend. She's prayer partner. She's my sister and everything, but she was my friend at the time. And she was like, you need to get rid of this man. I was like, what are you talking about? We're done. We broke up or whatever. She's like, no, you still have a lot of things from him. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, the Bible, the ring. I stopped wearing the ring, but I still had it. She's like, bring everything. Because when I went back, there was another time I went back to his country. I actually tried to give him back the items and he refused to take it. He was like, do whatever you want with it. I'm not taking these back. So I was like, fine, I'm gonna keep it. I was like, it's jewelry. I can probably sell it or something. I was like, it's a Bible. So she said, okay, I see you have these items. Go and check if you have any more. I'm like, no, as far as I know, I only have these 4 items from him. So I gave her the items that I had. She's like, nope, I'm gonna sit right here in this parking lot. You need to go through your room and see if you have anything else from him, even if it's down to a pin. I was like, okay, fine. I really did not expect to find anything else. By the time I cleaned up my room from whatever I had of him, I had 17 objects, 17 different things. And we're not talking about pictures or anything. I'm talking about things that he would have bought me over the years we were together, things that I cherished because he used to buy me things that I like. You know, some guys buy you things and they're not sure about you. Like he actually knew what I liked and he bought those things. So to part with it, it was kind of hard, especially the Bible, because I was like, it's a Bible. Like, it's a Bible. So I remember I ripped out the words that he wrote to me because I was like, I don't want to, if she chooses to give this Bible to someone, I don't know, I don't want anybody to connect me and that Bible. So I gave her the items and she was like, okay, thank you. I was like, so what are you going to do with it? She was like, I'm not telling you. And to all who's listening, to this date, that was 7 years ago. I have no idea what she did with those items. She's the type of person that she'll just throw it in the bush somewhere. That's how much, like, she does not play. I don't know what she did with this. I've tried to ask her a few times and she refuses to tell me. It's almost a decade later, and I do not know what she did with these items. It's like the mystery of mysteries. So eventually I deleted him from all of my social media. I deleted our pictures. I got rid of the items. And then a couple of years after that, I get all kind of messages. Ding, 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 ding. Message, message, message. Dear Star, did you hear? Dear Star thing. I was like, what are you talking about? They was like, oh, did you see on his page? I was like, what? They was like, so and so got married to that, to so and so. I was like, I was shocked. Remember the girl who I told you about earlier in the video? He got married to her. And I just laughed. I was like, well, good for him. The reason I laughed was like, wow, my dream came true in like the most, like in the weirdest way. From me dreaming that you cheated on me with her, to you saying, oh, she's just a friend, to actually get married. I was like, okay, then this is very intense. So that was the last of him. That was the last of anything. I have zero communication with him. And that's it. That is Mr. Toxic. And as I said, as much as I'm sharing my story with you, there in every aspect, in every story I share, there is some details, sensitive details left out, not necessarily for the individual, but the other individuals who are part of the story. So I'm not gonna, it's not necessary even about calling names, but just certain things I'm not gonna share. But this man, he caused me to hate men. At that time, I don't hate men anymore. I really don't. Thank God for um, healing in that department. I got, ooh, and that process of healing was not easy one bit. After he broke up with me, I never in a million years thought I would like any other man ever again. But then I had an international affair, and I will tell you all about that in part 3. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Part 3 is coming up and it's about to get spicy. In my definition, we were in a situationship.